All right, let's go ahead and begin. Welcome everyone to the Big Revenue VIP Weekends course. This has been my biggest and most reliable moneymaker in business. And I'm just switching over to slide 2 for the overview here. Yeah, so it's been my biggest and most reliable moneymaker in business. I came up with the idea when I tried to hold a live event in Denver. I was going to invite 18 people to meet with me and get their marketing funnels implemented. So I put this idea out to the top 10% of my list. And many responded, but everyone who did gave reasons why they could not attend. I'm still amazed by people who can fill live events. So I wondered how to remove the friction of having people come to me. And I thought, well, what if I came to them? And what if I covered all my expenses? And what if I spent 3 whole days with someone to help them totally get set up to bring in results? So I put that offer out to my list. I was planning on sending 3 emails, but the response was so good, I didn't need to send the other 2. The price at the time for these VIP weekends was $5,000, and now it's up to $7,000. And I was hired to go to Canada, Orlando, Madison, Wisconsin, Jamaica, Minneapolis, California, and other places in North America. So I was very excited that the offer was so well received, but I didn't really know how I was going to deliver the VIP weekend and what we do over those 3 days, but I figured it out. And my exact strategy may not be your exact strategy, but in this class we'll figure this out and how to determine your strategy. I also came up with several variations of the Get It Done VIP weekend, including people coming to me where I pay their expenses, a discounted virtual version where I rent a hotel room in my hometown and work via telephone or Zoom, and a discounted VIP virtual day where we spend just 1 day together. All of these variations have sold well too. And the benefit for you being the coach or consultant in offering these is that it's a lot of money for a very focused and relatively small amount of your time. It allows you to really bond with your clients. That face-to-face time is priceless from a relationship standpoint. Now, some of you might be thinking that you cannot do this because of how you serve people, and I'd like to suggest that you can. Simply figure out the best way that you can spend 3 days with your client, setting them up for success and supporting them after their time with you. It's very doable in every niche I can think of, and your clients will love spending time with you. What really sells this VIP weekend is the promise of setting up a system that will get people results and provides ongoing support. So we'll move on to slide 3, and let me just go ahead and do that and see if everything looks okay from a technology standpoint. Looks like we've got lots of people on the line. Looks like my voice is coming through. Looks like the slides are working. So as far as I can tell, it's all systems go. So I'm going to switch back to the slides here, and let's start off with a quick introduction. My name is Rob Goyette. I live in Colorado Springs with my wife and 5-year-old son. My wife is German, and I recently spent 4 years living over there in Germany. I also have a 17-year-old son, and he's currently living in Germany doing a 2-year work-study program. I've been supporting 6- and 7-figure leaders in the coaching niche since 2007. I started out helping Christian Michelson, and then many of his peers hired me to help them with their businesses. In 2014, I decided that I should taper off from supporting these leaders and become one myself. So I started building a list and created a product. The product I created teaches coaches and small business owners to create and deliver automated webinars to sell their products and programs. And since I began building and nurturing my own list, my business has done really well. I've created additional products and programs that serve my audience. My latest product teaches a laser coaching model that puts money in coaches' bank accounts fast. I call it fast revenue coaching. And my most successful program to date has been VIP weekends, which is what we're going to cover in this course. I found that these VIP weekends have been the easiest program to sell to my list, and they've brought in the most money. So I'm excited to share this model with you. We'll move on to slide 4. All right, so this course will consist of 3 modules. In an ideal world, call 1 is where we cover module 1, call 2 is module 2, and call 3 is module 3, but who knows? We'll see how far we get. I budgeted 90 minutes for these calls. They might end a little early. They will not go a little late though. So if we hit our 90 minutes, on this call, then we'll just pick up where we left off on the next call. But the 3 modules we cover in this course are Module 1 is creating your VIP weekend packages. This is so that you can put together an irresistible offer out to your audience. Module 2 is selling your VIP weekend packages. This is so that people eagerly respond and start filling up your calendar with appointments. Module 3 is delivering your VIP weekend packages. This is so you get results for your clients and they bond with you at a very high level and they make their payments to you. We're going to talk about payments later today, but I found that, yeah, if you bond with someone in person or even virtually over video conferencing, that relationship is so strong that the people rarely fail or flake on their payments. We will also have a special section at the end of each call where I'll ask you for your biggest takeaways, and then we'll open things up for questions. I call this last part takeaways and Q&As. So please do be jotting down notes, and I would love it if at the end of the call when I ask for your takeaways, you guys are willing to speak up or type your takeaways into the question box. Not only will this allow me to sort of realize where I'm on track and where I need to tweak things, but it will also support everyone else on the call that can glean from your takeaways. So I would ask you guys to start jotting down any takeaways you get from this call, and I would ask you to, well, when we get to the question part, I'll ask you to ask questions. Sorry, I froze there for a second because I was looking at the slides, making sure we were on the right one. But yeah, I do want your questions at the end, and so please hold your questions until the end, jot those down, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. And by the way, this is a recorded program. That means other people will pay for it and hear it. So if you do not want to be on the program, then there's no need to speak up. You can type your questions in the question box and just don't put any personal information in there. All right, so I'm going to mention one other thing. A lot of people will be listening to the replays of this call or the recording of this call, and if you have questions, simply reply to any email I send you and ask those questions. If we're still doing the course live, I'll answer those questions on the call. Otherwise, I'll reply back with a direct answer to you and to your question. All right, let's move on to slide 5, Module 1. Creating your VIP weekend packages. So this is what we're going to cover on the call today, assuming that all the time works out, and I think it will. We'll talk about who you want to serve. We'll talk about how you want to serve them. Then we'll discuss how long your VIP weekend will be in both hours per day and in the number of days. We'll talk about locations for conducting your weekends. Then we'll get into financial considerations like prices and discounts and payment plans. We'll then go on to discuss bonuses to make your weekends more irresistible. And finally, we'll wrap up the module talking about preparation, how to get ready for your VIP weekends. So let's move on to slide 6. Who will you serve? So some of you know exactly who you'd like to serve, and others in this program may feel like you can help just about anyone. I'd like to suggest that it's really smart to get clear about your ideal client. Even if you end up serving others, if you know who your ideal client is, you can target those people in your marketing and get a feel for how well you can help someone who may not be your ideal client. Once you know who you're going to serve, you should be building an email list of those people if you haven't started, or continue growing your list if you have one. Building an audience is such a leveraged way to sell your VIP weekends and other programs because you can put your offer out to them and pretty much take orders from the responses. Emailing your list also lets people follow up when they're ready. My most recent VIP weekend was from someone who I didn't know that reached out at the end of December from an email that I sent in August asking, the guy was asking if I'm still offering VIP weekends. So when you market to your list through email, some people will follow up long after the email goes out, and this then gives you a chance to continue selling instead of reaching out to personal contacts. And yeah, I guess reaching out to personal contacts, someone might also follow up after 6 or 8 months, but I believe that email marketing is the way to go, meaning you should be building that list and nurturing that list. Okay, so now let's continue with the course. I suggest you nurture your email list for at least 30 days before putting offers in front of them. Different shopping carts and autoresponders have ways that you can send out emails to people who have been on your list for at least a certain amount of time. And so just ask your shopping cart support desk how to do it. If you try to sell to people before 30 days of nurturing them, people are more likely to unsubscribe. So it's a good idea to take care of your leads and send them great content for at least 30 days before selling to them. I also suggest that you more deeply nurture your list than just sending out good email copy. With the exception of the VIP weekends, because they sell so well, almost everyone who buys from my list is also in a group I call my Radical Results Mastermind. This is really just a 2 times per week call that I do for my list, and about 10% of my list is in this group. But it's a very high content, high quality call, and it really connects me to this audience. I used to charge for this group, but now I bonus it into other offers, and it's what allows my audience to really get to know and like and trust me. You can also do this with a Facebook group. Just make sure that you give the group plenty of attention and ask them questions and present to them with Facebook Live or other methods where you're constantly getting in front of them and sharing great information and allowing for interaction. So this isn't a course on how to properly nurture your list, but it's important enough that I want to spend time on it to make sure that you know who you are going to serve and you build that audience that you can put your offer in front of. Your contact database is another place you can look for VIP weekend clients. Just go through your database and make a hit list. I'm in the coaching space with a lot of you, and so hit list might sound less than heart-centered. You can call it a love list, but create a hit list or a list of people that you'd like to offer weekends to. The key here is trust. Please hear that loud and clear. The key to people hiring you when you're selling anything is trust. You know, people talk about the know, like, and trust factor, but of those 3, the most important is trust. And it's funny, with VIP weekends, trust is not as big a factor, I found. It's really interesting. These things sell so well that the trust factor is a little less necessary, but still you should be doing this, right? So if you don't yet have an email list who trusts you, you should build one and nurture one, but you can also consider reaching out to contacts that you've emailed in the past. You can check your sent items folder in your email software if your contact database is not current or complete. Let's move on to slide 7, how you will serve your audience. So the way that I do this is I like to ask myself what gems I've shared with people where they've had a big aha. So what conversations have you had with people where you're sharing your expertise and they have a big aha? One of my moments is when I share with people that in 2016, I had over 51 one-on-one coaching clients. Jaws drop as I explain how I did it. Another aha is where I share with people how easily and how many VIP weekends I've sold to people who, as far as I know, didn't really even know who I was. You know, usually when I sell something to my list, I recognize the names, but in this case, I was hearing from people that that were not familiar to me, and that told me that trust wasn't as big a factor. The trust threshold is much lower for these VIP weekends than for anything else I put out there. Another aha is, my voice correct, another aha is when I share my model for creating an automated webinar funnel. I've seen quote-unquote gurus furiously scribble notes as I explained how to make a successful automated webinar funnel work. So I've created products and programs around these ahas, and you can too. So think about the ahas that you've shared with people where, you know, it really seems like, wow, you know what you're doing, or wow, you've gotten some incredible results, and you can kind of use those to clue in on the solution you'll provide for your VIP weekend clients. So in my case, the marketing funnel aha is the solution that almost every VIP weekend client wants. So again, think about your aha moments and what your clients want. And then, this is really important, consider how you can build a system around those ahas or around getting the results that clients want. When I first started doing this, I didn't have a system. I just sort of felt my way through the first few weekends. Luckily, I was able to pretty much copy for my clients what I had done for myself, but it wasn't organized, and now it is. So again, in my case with my system, and I'm sharing this with you to give you an idea of how I have set up successful VIP weekends, and I'm hoping that you'll start thinking about how this can translate into how you can set them up. So in my system, what we do is really 6 steps. Number 1, we identify their niche and their niche's biggest problem. So that's part of the weekend. We create a free report to get people onto the client's email list. So yes, during the weekend, we actually create their free report. Number 3, in my case, is optional. Some people want an automated webinar, others don't need it or don't want it. So step 3 is we might have that free report lead to an automated webinar. And yes, we've actually recorded automated webinars during a 3-day VIP weekend. Step 4 is we create a deep nurture vehicle so that the client can bond with their list. That deep nurture vehicle is what I was talking about earlier, where I have that twice-a-month call with about 10% of my list, or where you might have a Facebook group. Step 5 is we create 3-day sale email campaigns around the products and programs they like to sell. We talk about what they'd like to sell to their audience, and we create 3-day email campaigns around selling that product or program, or sometimes multiple products or programs. And then step 6 is we determine how they'd like to drive traffic to their free report. Some people want Facebook ads, others want joint venture emails, some people want to get interviewed on podcasts. So we really talk about how they want to get traffic into their funnel. So what's cool about that, though, is that when I'm talking to a potential VIP weekend client or one who has hired me, I'll have that system out in front of me, and I'll use it as a guide for the entire weekend. So we know when we're on track and where we are, and it really lets us keep our eye on the big picture of the weekend. So those step 6, that's my system, and now you can come up with yours. And by the way, if you happen to serve the same people that I do, you're welcome to copy and use anything from my system to create your VIP weekend. But if you serve a different niche, how do you get people results? So, there's so many niches out there, but I'll just choose a couple. If you're a weight loss coach, you probably weigh and measure your clients. You find out where they want to be and why. You determine a solution for how to get them there. Maybe it's low carb or low protein or exercise, and you create a plan for them to implement. I could see you actually going to the grocery store in person or even virtually with your VIP weekend clients. So that might be an example, if you're a weight loss coach, of something you'd structure your system around. If you're a relationship coach, you probably find out about the client's past relationships. You get the client's current relationship status. You find out what kind of relationship they'd like to have and why. You determine a solution for how to get them there, and you create a plan for them to implement to get to that solution. I could also see you going clothes shopping with a client, live or virtually, during a VIP weekend, for example. And maybe new clothes are not the solution you recommend, but my point is that you can actually do activities with clients, whether it's recording a webinar or going to the grocery store with them. So maybe a good starting formula, no matter what your niche is step 1, measure the past and where people are now. Step 2, discover what the client wants. Step 3, determine the solution to get them there. Step 4, create a plan for setting up a system and ongoing progress and results. And step 5 is have some exercises or tasks in mind for your time together. So you can have fun with this, but the key is to set up a system where you meet with the client for an intense number of hours and days, and when you leave, they have a plan to move forward and a way to get support once you're gone. That's the last piece, is really offering ongoing support. I include 2 years of unlimited 15-minute laser coaching for my VIP weekend clients. And it's funny, most of them don't realize it or remember it after they purchase, and when I remind them of it, they're thrilled. And by the way, very few actually use it and contact me after the weekend. Maybe a little bit at first, but it's not a big, scary overhead item to manage. You can also offer unlimited email support and perhaps a discount on phone coaching or consulting. Give them a VIP rate. The key is that once that they have the system in place, they need to feel like you're not just disappearing forever and that you're there to help them get results. So you need to know how you're going to serve your VIP clients. your VIP weekend clients. We're going to move on to slide 8. The reason I hesitated there is I just want to make sure that we're still on track and I'm still on the line and the recording's still working. And yeah, it's looking good, but I just didn't want to go on and talk for 20 minutes and find out you guys weren't there or I wasn't on the line. So let's go to slide 8 here. Time to deliver. So maybe I got lucky by estimating a 6-hour per day over 3-day weekend is what my clients need. I think it's a good starting point. Most clients will want a full day with you, and I found that 6 hours is enough for most to count as a full day. Normally we meet from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. for our VIP days, but that's because I'm at my best during those times. So I'm a morning person, and my prime time is during those hours. So consider when you are at your best and strive to have your days during those hours. Now, because of time zones or client wishes, I've had schedules all over the board, and I'm fine with that. But I often explain to clients that they'll get me at my best if we can meet from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and most of them easily agree to this. So think about how many hours per day you'll spend with your client and the ideal time of day you'd like to be with them. Consider also how many days it'll take to deliver your solution. 3 days has been my perfect number in my world, and I suspect it's a good starting point no matter what your niche is and your solution for that niche. But if you have no idea, then I would say start with 3 days because that's a time frame that I've proven that people will quickly and easily sign up for. But if you know your number is different, then go with that number, and you can adjust your prices accordingly. We'll discuss pricing later in this part of the course. I tried selling single virtual VIP days. At least with my niche, I found that it was really hard to deliver a complete solution in just one day. So people bought it, but I was working harder than I ever have and really don't even feel like I was able to deliver a complete solution over just one day. So single virtual VIP days can sell, but in my case, they just don't work very well. So, and it might be different in your niche. I've got sales copy that I'll share with you, which worked well to sell several single VIP days to my list. But again, I've stopped offering those because they were too challenging. So for me, 3 days is perfect. And by the way, I found that a Friday, Saturday, Sunday makes for the best VIP weekend, but I have had them during the week. And in the case of virtual weekends, even split up the days into multiple weeks. So you can decide what you'd like to offer and or get input from your clients about what days of the week you'd like to meet. You also want to be sure that there are no bottlenecks in your VIP weekend. You don't want the client to put everything on hold while they get information or are waiting for someone on their team to do something. An example in my world is that I almost always need access to the client's logins and passwords for their various accounts. We don't want to have to wait an hour or two for the client to look all this stuff up or wait to hear back from their VA about how to get into an account, especially over a weekend. So I would say probably get that information up front or at least make sure that it's easily available during your weekend. Other examples of preventing bottlenecks is that I've got someone who does 3D report covers for me. And I've also got someone who creates webinar slides and webinar videos from a script. So I make sure that these resources, meaning these people, are ready to go during my weekends so that we don't have to put anything on hold. So the key here, let me just take a sip of my drink. All right, so the key here is to make sure that you and the client don't need anything from anyone while you're having your weekend. Therefore, I recommend you have at least one prep call with the client. I found that most clients will beat me to this and ask for the call or ask what they can do to be ready. You know, clients are very proactive about being ready for their weekend. So figure out what you need up front and make sure that you get everything you need from the client and that any resources you need will be ready before or during your weekend. Alone time versus together time. So depending on the work that you and your client will be doing, you might actually split up during your weekend. You can split up during the prime time hours, which in my case would be 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., or work outside your normal hours and get things done then. Sometimes if it seems like I'll be doing a lot of copywriting, for instance, I'll ask the client if we can meet 2 hours later so that I can get stuff done. Or we'll end that day early and I'll get the stuff done before we meet the next day. just understand that there might be spots during your weekend when the two of you split up and work on tasks. I found this to be especially true with virtual weekends. It's easy to disconnect from Skype or Zoom and get a bunch of stuff done while staying in touch through text messaging on our cell phones. So consider when you'll be working and when you'll be working together versus alone. All right, we'll move on to slide 9, locations. So if you like to travel, this can be a whole lot of fun. If you'd rather stay in your hometown and have clients come to you or do things virtually, that works well too. So I want to quickly address safety issues with traveling to see clients. Most of your clients are likely good people, and you don't need to worry about getting into a dangerous situation by going to someone's house or hotel room. But I do want to encourage you to be safe when meeting with clients alone. If your gut tells you that something isn't right, please pay attention to that and either don't meet in person or have an escape plan if things get really weird. And I'm sorry to bring that up, but I'd feel irresponsible if I didn't at least tell you to make sure that your VIP weekends are a safe experience. I've had the tables turned where I visited female clients in their homes, and I brought up the safety issue and offered public places to meet instead, just so that they feel more comfortable and more safe. And they've all said that they don't have any concerns, but especially if the two of you don't know each other, I think it's good to consider or suggest meeting in public places like a hotel lobby or library or even rent a workspace. I've had clients rent workspaces in lieu of meeting at their homes. And by the way, in every case, the client has rented the space and the expense never came up. So they covered that, which was nice. And it's probably because I covered my own hotel and travel expenses. Okay, so when I first started offering VIP weekends, I visited the clients. That's all I offered. I didn't do the virtual or anything else. I just offered to travel to visit the clients. And it was really cool to travel to Florida and Jamaica and Connecticut and Tennessee and Montreal and California and Minnesota and Wisconsin and even a few cities in my own state of Colorado. And sometimes I would bring my wife and young son, or I'd take my older son along, and we turned it into a work-sponsored vacation. I'm not here to give you tax advice, but I'm guessing you can likely write off some or all of your travel expenses if you can. Have fun in the places you visit. That's such a great way to go if you can write off some of those expenses. For example, in Jamaica, my family stayed at one of those all-inclusive resorts, and we scheduled a few extra days there, and in my downtime, I was able to enjoy the vacation part of it. So if you like to travel, this can be a big perk of the VIP weekend. And clients love it when you come to them. All things equal, think about it. Would you rather drive out and pick up a pizza to bring home, or would you rather have it delivered? So I say all things equal, there's more expense with having it delivered, right? But yeah, clients like it when you come to them. I've also found that clients are proud of where they live and excited to either show me around or suggest things for me to do and see. So visiting clients is great. I've only had 2 cases where the client wanted to come to me to visit me here in Colorado Springs, and one of those 2 is actually later this month. For the VIP weekend that has already occurred where the client came, I got to show off my town of Colorado Springs. I took the client to a few restaurants, and I even lent her my car for the extra day that she stayed. So it's exciting to have a client visit. I soon found that VIP weekends were such an irresistible offer that I was traveling more than I wanted to. So I was doing a lot of traveling. And so once I realized that I was traveling more than I wanted to, I created a virtual version, and I knocked $2,000 off the price. With that discount, it was even easier to sell weekends, although some people still insisted they'd like to meet in person. So you'll probably get both live and virtual requests if you offer them. For the virtual weekends, it's important to me to have the time and energy of being on a trip and quote-unquote out of the office. So I'll either usually rent a local hotel room, or I'll ask my family to clear out of the house for that time so I can really focus on delivering a great VIP weekend. And when I tell my virtual VIP weekend clients that I'm renting a hotel to have our weekend, they love it. So it's fun because when I get a local hotel, I'll often invite my 5-year-old to visit me in the evening and go swimming. But when he and my wife leave, I do feel like I'm on a dedicated trip to serve the client. The only part I haven't easily managed is the hotel checkout time. I could probably put some time and energy into early or late checkouts or stay extra days, but This is something I haven't quite made elegant yet, but it works. By the way, I found that virtual VIP weekends tend to be more productive than meeting in person. There's a higher relationship factor when you meet in person, but there's not so much chit-chat, and it's simply more productive to do it virtually. So we meet by phone, or I've been using Zoom lately. Before that it was Skype, and there's a lot of alone time where I can just sit down and really work on the client's system. That's what works well for me in my niche. For you in your niche, it might be different. And with virtual weekends, you can also spread them out across separate days. I've had a few clients do this. I prefer to have all 3 days in a row, but by having time between days, this actually gives the client a lot of space to get things done. So consider this as an option, especially if the dates work out better for you and for your business. I've only had one VIP weekend outside of North America. That client is in Singapore. And at first he was planning to come to Colorado, but we ended up going virtual. The time difference for that one was a little hard for me, but I took strategic naps and ended up working from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. in my time zone, which I think for him was, I don't know, 6 or 7 a.m. To whatever in his time zone. So you can have these VIP weekends wherever and whenever you like. Let's move on to slide 10, finances. So when packaging up your VIP weekend offer, it's important to know how much you need to earn, what your expenses might be, and what your travel time is worth. So I budget $1,000 for expenses and $1,000 for travel time. So if I'm traveling to go see the client, I pretty much figure I'll spend $1,000 on the actual expenses of travel, and then I figure my time out of the office is worth $1,000 for that travel time. So I put a price on that time that I'm out of the office and not working. And I also, again, budget about $1,000 for expenses. It's not perfect math, but I'm comfortable with those round numbers, and maybe they can at least give you something to contrast your expenses and the value of your travel days with. Because of what I budget for expenses and time, I simply charge $2,000 less if someone wants a virtual VIP weekend. I started off charging $5,000 when I would travel to the client and cover my own expenses, and then I charged $3,000 for virtual weekends. In the case of clients coming to me, we've actually done it both ways. In one case, the client paid the price that she would have if I had traveled to her, so I covered her plane ticket and her hotel. And in the other case, where the client is coming to me, the client is actually paying the virtual rate, so I'm having him cover his own expenses to visit me. When I paid for my client to come to me, I asked her to find a flight to Colorado Springs and send me the price of her ticket. I don't remember what it was, but I remember thinking it was reasonable, and I asked her to go ahead and buy the ticket. I then immediately PayPal'd her the money for it. And the same case with the hotel, except for I found and recommended a hotel. She liked it, so she agreed and paid for it, and then I reimbursed her immediately. Quick side note is that if you PayPal someone as friends and family, if you choose that category of friends and family, neither of you typically pays fees. And we don't want clients paying that 2% charge that you might normally see with a PayPal transaction when we're reimbursing them for their expenses. I also want to mention that hotel-wise, I love the Drury Inn. It's a nice professional hotel without the high prices of a fancy place. They have a good hot breakfast buffet, evening snacks with meat or pasta, and free drinks, both alcoholic and non. So if you're looking for a hotel to recommend to visiting clients and there's one in your area, my recommendation is the Drury Inn, but of course you may already have a favorite that you would recommend to clients. And by the way, when I would go and travel to clients, they would often recommend their favorite hotels to me. So that's kind of fun. Usually they recommend pretty expensive places compared to what I normally would choose. So sometimes I'll just go for it and stay in a fancier place, and other times I'll let them know. I'll say, oh, I found one much more affordable, and all I need is a bed to sleep in. So I'll just choose this one. So, all right, we've talked about expenses. Let's discuss prices. You can price your VIP weekends any way you wish. It has to be an amount, though, that your niche is willing to pay for a solution and a plan to get results. I pretty much pulled that initial 5,000 number out of the air at first. It was actually the number that I plan to charge for a ticket to my live event in Denver that I mentioned at the beginning of the call. But I found that 5,000 is a number that works really well in my niche. People grab it at that price. But so does 7,000, and I'll likely raise the price to 10,000 soon while still offering a $2,000 discount for virtual weekends. And if you don't know where to start, I'd suggest considering a $5,000 price point for an in-person VIP weekend. When I first started offering the weekends to people, I told my customers that if they bought something from me in the past, we'd apply that money to the cost of their VIP weekend. And they loved it, of course, right? So this way it was like they got my previous product or program for free. If they had paid me $1,000 for one of my products or programs, I said, we'll apply that $1,000 toward your VIP weekend expense, and that way it's like you're getting the product for free. So yeah, they absolutely loved it. So you can use that strategy if you feel like it will help you make some sales to your current clients and customers. I know a few people in my case got at least a $1,000 discount, and one longtime client actually got a $2,000 discount from the in-person price. But it's funny, we actually ended up going virtual. So even though she paid me the in-person price, with her $2,000 discount and us going virtual, the math all worked out so that she basically paid the full virtual price after her discount. So you can use the discount strategy at your discretion. I like it because it makes selling easier. But first of all, this is such an easy sale regardless that I don't think you need the discount strategy. And secondly, even though you're not getting your full price for the VIP weekend, you've likely collected and spent some of the money from their previous purchase. So it might not feel as good to you if they pay full price. Hold on, let me look at my notes here. So, so it might not feel as good to you as if they had paid full price without the discount. What I'm really trying to say there is, if you're offering a weekend for $5,000 and you tell someone if they bought your $1,000 program, they can apply that to their weekend, I'm saying you're still getting $5,000 for the weekend. It's just that you've already collected $1,000 of those dollars, and so it might not feel like you're getting paid $5,000 for the weekend if you end up just giving them credit for what they've already spent with you. They've still spent $5,000 from you, and so it's kind of all how you structure it. And again, it's up to you. This thing sells well with or without applying those discounts. But my reason for doing them, and I'm pretty easygoing about the discounts, is because I want to appreciate my clients and teach my list that if they buy something from me, I take care of them. I think that subtle message goes a long way. So consider using discounts if they serve you. Now, payment plans. I normally don't recommend payment plans for products and programs that we sell. I find that a lot of people flake out because they're not motivated to complete their payments if something goes wrong, especially if they already have the product. But because the VIP weekend is a higher ticket item and you really get to bond with your client over those 3 days, I think a payment plan is a good idea. This is what I believe is responsible for such a high response rate to my VIP weekend offers, are these payment plans. Some clients simply don't have all the money right now, and others don't know me well enough, and the payment plan feels like a safe baby step toward trusting me. So I started off with a $1,000 a month payment plan, and then as the requests started coming in for $500 a month, I accepted those and started offering that rate as well. And yeah, I mean, of course, $500 a month is my most popular payment plan. It's the most popular way that people like to pay because it's the least amount of money month after month after month. But lots of people have paid $1,000 for $1,000 a month, and two that I recall have paid the full amount. So the nice thing about the payment plan is that you then have a pretty likely cash flow over the next 3 to 6 to 10 months or whatever plans you put in place. And I think that it's nice to know that you have that money coming in month after month. And as momentum builds, you start selling more weekends, and that monthly revenue likely grows. So as long as your cash flow is okay, I think payment plans are the way to go. Like I said, I've only had 2 people out of perhaps 20 pay the full amount at once. And certainly the cash up front is nice, but I smile when I get a payment plan because then it feels like my income is a little more certain throughout the year. I've only had 2 people flake out on their payment plans. One is a sad story where she had a severe medical condition, and I only collected $3,000 out of the $5,000. So I justify this in my head as that we had a virtual weekend where I also took a trip. The other person who flaked is someone I'm currently chasing to make payments. My guess is that she simply can't afford the payment and is too embarrassed to reply to me. But if I can get her to reply, I can coach her back into some great income. So I'm going to keep trying. But I'd rather focus my energy on developing and selling more programs. So chasing after a VIP client is not a super high priority for me. But by the way, if she's listening to this program somehow, I hope she'll contact me. I also want to mention that when a client signs up for a VIP weekend, the payments start immediately. This way, especially if I'll be traveling, I know that there's at least some money that I've collected ahead of time. Some clients pay for the whole weekend before theirs begins, they make all their payments, and others have made as little as just one payment. But in no case has the client ever insisted on having their weekend before making a payment. And I tell them they need to get started on their payments to lock in their weekend. So that feels good and congruent to them. Still, I believe I've made way more sales by having a payment plan than by not. So let's move on to slide 11. Slide 11 is bonuses. So I haven't really stressed it as a bonus before, but I think that having a prep call for the VIP weekend would certainly count. I value my time at $375 an hour. I actually do charge this and have collected this from people. So to give this call to a client before their weekend can add some value. And sometimes we'll have a few calls. So I think listing a prep call as a bonus can be a good thing. The ongoing support is probably the most important bonus as far as the client getting results. And but like I said, some clients totally forget that they get 2 years of laser coaching with me to support them after their weekend. But they're overjoyed when I share this with them. So, I mean, the smiles on their faces are huge when I say, I don't know if you recall this, but you actually get 2 years of laser coaching with me after your weekend, and they are just so happy. So it's a great bonus to have, even though it may not be necessary to make the sale. You know, it allows them to continue to work with you to get results. And again, when they rediscover that they get this, they're overjoyed. If you have other products and programs you can include, those work really well as bonuses too. And they don't have to be especially congruent, just exciting gifts that give people an extra reason to say yes. When I've been bonusing in my automated webinars course for clients, so when I've been bonusing in that course, to my surprise, many of the clients actually use the course. They create their login, they go in, they go through the course, and they love it. So what I'm saying is, even though automated webinars may not be totally, I mean, it's a little bit congruent because in some cases their funnel, we do an automated webinar together, but if we've already done it together, they don't need to know how to go through and create their own, but they love having the course. So I'm also going to start bonusing in my fast revenue coaching program. That's that laser coaching model I mentioned at the beginning of the call. So I'll bonus that in for clients so that they know how to offer laser coaching to their clients. I think that would really support them. So that's a congruent bonus for most, and again, they love it. Another bonus you can add is discounts on future services. So I haven't really used this one yet, but it's a great way to plant seeds for more sales with your clients. Remember, the people who buy from you the most are the ones who trust you the most. So people who say yes to your products and programs the easiest are the ones who trust you. And on the VIP weekend, I mean, that trust factor is sky high because you're either meeting in person or meeting over video for 3 days. So what I'm saying is those people are more likely to buy stuff from you than maybe anybody else. And so I think that offering discounts on future services can be a great bonus and a great way to plant the seeds for more sales with your clients. So think about what kind of discounts or offers you can give to your VIP weekend clients. This can be another reason that they say yes to your offer and can position them to buy more products and programs from you. It's funny, in a few cases, while I've been on an in-person VIP weekend, clients have asked what else I have to sell them. And that question has caught me off guard because I didn't really have anything to offer. But here's where I could tell them that they get $1,000 off their next VIP weekend, or a special coaching rate, or I could say I'm putting together a retreat, or, you know, or whatever I might want to sell next to them. So keep that in mind, that these clients, a lot of them, if they like you and trust you, which most of them will after their weekend, they may be ready to buy more stuff from you. So bonuses help make the sale, but again, most of my VIP weekend clients sort of forget about the bonuses and are really more focused on the weekend itself. The bonuses just give people more reasons to say yes to your offer. All right, so we have gone through this material pretty quickly, which is awesome. We've got one more slide to cover, and then we're going to do the takeaways and Q&As. So let's see if we wrap this call up a little early. And if we don't, that's fine too. I'm happy to answer your questions and answers till the end of the call. But let's move on to slide 12, preparation. So I mentioned this before, but you really want to put together a system for your VIP weekend clients, and you want to make sure that there are no bottlenecks during your weekend. On day one, it'll feel like there's plenty of time to do everything. I know I always feel time abundant on that first day, but I found that I'm usually scrambling on day 3, and sometimes we don't even get it all finished. And those loose ends, by the way, are killers. I've still got some loose ends from a few clients, and I don't know if they'll ever get tied up. The ball is in the client's court on these loose ends, but one of the reasons they hire us is to get things done because they haven't been able to do these tasks on their own. So really try to make sure that you budget your time accordingly for each of those 3 days or however long your VIP weekend is. So I've learned to do my best to prevent those bottlenecks, and I've identified the tasks that often take longer than we'd like, and in some cases have even asked the client to get a head start on writing some nurture emails or creating their webinar script, or basically doing those tasks where I have found those to be the loose ends or really the bottlenecks of the weekend. So have a plan for how you'll spend each of your 3 days, and give yourself room to be wrong about how long things will take. Determine what you want to have accomplished by the end of each day and who will be responsible for each task. Make sure you'll have all the information you need. In my case, this means logins and passwords. If you're a weight loss coach, maybe this means having the client's food journal for the last 10 days instead of them trying to remember what they ate. Or if you're a relationship coach, maybe it's making sure the client has a diary of their social calendar for the last year. You know, I don't know what it'll be for you, but just make sure that you don't waste time by having the client try to recollect. My notes say recollect. I'm trying to say recollect. I just read it wrong. So yeah, try to make sure you don't waste time by having the client try to recollect or find information. Be sure you also have any resources handy that you'll need. You don't want to waste time on your end looking for documents or websites or exercises for your clients to go through. And if you're going to rely on others, make sure that those people are either on call during your weekend or they've already done everything they need to do before your weekend even begins. All right, so for the last bullet point of the last slide of this Module 1, I want to have a little bit of fun here. And I would say that a fun point of being prepared is make sure you know how you'd like to spend your downtime. If you're visiting a new or an exciting city, check out TripAdvisor and see what's special about the city you're visiting. Or if you're staying at a local hotel with a pool and you have a 5-year-old, make plans one night to take him swimming. What I'm suggesting is that you find some fun during your weekend too. One of my 2 upcoming VIP weekends this month, this is where the actual client is coming to me here in Colorado Springs, and we're going to go through an escape room together. I don't know if you guys know what an escape room is, but basically you're locked in a room with some other people, and the puzzle is to try to figure out how to get out of the room. And there's a long story behind that and why this client and I are both going to enjoy that, but the point is that I'm planning to enjoy the weekend, not just work. My other point is that you'll be able to meet with other clients and prospects if you're traveling. So let me give you an example. On a recent VIP weekend, I set up a meeting with a potential salesperson for my team. So this was at night. It was after the VIP weekend day stuff had happened with that client. I went and met with somebody else, a potential salesperson for my team, and it was really great to meet with her in person. And I hired her, and she's already making sales for me. I don't know if it would have gone that well if we hadn't met in person, but since I was going to be in or near her town anyway, I set up the meeting. So use your VIP weekend downtime for fun or maybe even for business. Okay, so that wraps up Module 1, and I'd like to start with your takeaways, and then we'll move into questions and answers after that. So if you've got takeaways, what I would ask you to do is to press *2 on your phone, and that will raise your hand on my screen, or you can type your questions, sorry, not your questions, your takeaways. You can type your takeaways into the Q&A box. So right now what I'm looking for is I'm looking for your help. I would love it if you guys would speak up and tell me what you got from today's call so that others may also notice this. And again, you're doing me a favor because I'm creating a product out of this, and that will help customers who buy it hear some of your takeaways. So I do see a hand going up. Let me go ahead and unmute the line. This person is in Colorado like I am. Would you please say your name and then let me know your takeaway?
Hi, Rob. This is Andrea. And
hey, Andrea.
boy, hi. This is great as always. I love these calls you offer. There's so many takeaways, but the one, and it's a stretch for me, is finding the system that I want to offer. So it's something that I look forward to contemplating and figuring out.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah. It really is. I mean, that's what the clients are hiring us for, is to create this system. It's like it's if it's 3 days, whatever it is, it's an intense period of time where you're sitting down and you're really doing the work one time that can then where they will benefit from this work over and over. So I think system is the key word. So Andrea, thank you very much for your takeaway. I really appreciate it. All right, so I've muted Andrea, and looking for other takeaways, you can press *2 to raise your hand, and I'm also going to check the Q&A box and see if any have come in. Okay, so we got a few here, so that's great. So Nancy and Robert simply say hi. So hi, Nancy and Robert. Glad you're on the call. Let's see. I have a question, but we're not there yet, so I'll come back to that. Okay, so Pat says, it helps me to think big and open doors to more possibilities. Yeah, that's really true, Pat. I mean, that's why I call this Big Revenue VIP Weekends. I've got another product that I call Fast Revenue VIP Coaching because it puts money in your bank account fast. But the key here is this puts big money in your account. This lets you offer a perhaps more high-end package than what you might have offered in the past. So yeah, thinking big for sure. Thank you, Pat, for your takeaway. I'm looking for other takeaways. We've got people on the line and people on the webcast. If anybody else is willing to contribute to the quality of this call by pressing *2 to raise your hand, I'd appreciate it. There are quite a few of you on the line, and you can also type your takeaway into the Q&A. I'll refresh here. Okay, and thank you, Brenda. Brenda says, the most important thing I got was being prepared, both for the client and for me. I think we both feel more comfortable knowing what is expected from each of us. Yeah, I tell you, that's really true. Clients, they have a lot of, I wouldn't call it bad or severe anxiety, but they really want to make sure they're prepared for their weekend. And that makes sense, right? Because they're spending all this money with us, so they really want to make sure they're prepared. And so, you know, it's funny. Clients, they ask me, they say, "Well, should we have a prep call before we meet, or should we have a call every week before we meet?" And I tell them, you know, we can have calls if you want them. They're not necessary. We can do everything from the moment we sit down on your first day. But I'd be happy to have a prep call with you. And of course, if we have that prep call, then what I want them to do is to get prepared to, you know, for any of those bottlenecks that can come up over the weekend. So I've become more and more okay with having those prep calls with people. But yeah, they sure want to know what's expected of them and what they can do to be ready. Okay, someone else, anonymous here, says the takeaway is being inspired to give this more thought and create a program for my clients. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, awesome. Let me see if there are any hands up. I do see a hand up, so I'm going to unmute someone who might be in Reno. Person in Reno, please say your name.
Yep, Dino in Reno here. How you doing, Brother Rob?
Hey, is this the Dean that I met in Reno?
Yes, it is indeed.
Hey, Dean. Nice to have you on the call.
No, nice to be had. I mean here. That's what I meant. Hey, you know what? I had a couple of ahas when you talked about location, whether you visit them or have done a little bit of all of them, but I love the idea. I've done very little of going to them for extended periods of time. So I like that idea to
Awesome.
expand upon that. So that was very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Dean. Thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, I tell you, I mean, clients, they love it when we visit them. And when we say that we'll cover our own expenses, like travel and hotel, I
Right.
think that really pushes a magic button with them. So yeah, so Dean, I really appreciate your takeaway. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So I'll go ahead and mute Dean. I do see another hand going up, so that's awesome. Let me go ahead and unmute the person possibly in California, possibly Kat.
Hey,
Is this
good
the
guess,
Kat?
Rob. Yeah, it's
Is this the
Kat.
Kat I know? Hey, Kat.
It is good to hear you. You know, I've been struggling with this idea of coaching because I have other things that I want to do, and I tend to have trouble juggling a whole lot of different things. And the idea of having many coaching clients on an ongoing basis, I just can't focus on that much. And this idea of saying, look, I will give you a very hyper-focused period where we just work on your business, because so often people come to me and, you know, they don't understand something they learned in a course we took together, and we start talking, and I start getting really deep into what they're doing and give them a lot of advice, but I don't get paid anything for it. So, you know, the idea of saying, you know, I know this stuff, and I can really help you with this. Let's just come up with one price, not some ongoing program and how much every week, every month, you know, put together a website, sign up for times, whatever. Let's just one and done, get it in, get it out, you know.
Yeah. So having closure around the relationship is really good. I would suggest that you still have some sort of support vehicle for them afterward, because you'll create the system, and then you want to be able to give them support afterward, whether it's included as a bonus or whether you charge for it and give them some kind of discounted rate. But I totally hear you, Kat. Yeah, it's so nice to be able just to go there for 3 days or have them meet with you for 3 days, and then they paid you a bunch of money, and you have delivered what you needed to deliver. So, Kat, thank you so much for your takeaway. Yeah,
starting
go
at
ahead.
the top of the at the funnel at the VIP level, instead of starting with a course and then going to a live event. Then, you know, it's flipping the funnel, really.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, a lot of the people who have signed up, some of the people who signed up for VIP weekends have bought my other courses, and I think they signed up right away just because of the trust factor. But the strangers that I hear from, meaning the people I don't recognize them, that's where they're starting in my funnel. These are people that they might not even be in my top 10% of the people who I nurture. These are people I just don't recognize them, and they start in my funnel at this $5,000 or $7,000 rate. And yeah, it's really interesting how it kind of does flip that funnel upside down.
Very cool.
All right, Kat, thanks for your takeaway. I'm going to go ahead and mute you and give anybody else a chance to press *2 to raise your hand. I'm also going to check the Q&A to see if there are any other takeaways in there, and we'll move on to questions after we get through the takeaways. Okay, so that's a question. Let's see. Okay, so Dominique says, I'll definitely have to make sure I catch the replay because I came in when you were discussing the bonuses, but I'm looking forward to expanding my VIP day into this format. Looking forward to the replay. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys do have access to the recordings of this course, and yeah, so I'm really happy for you guys to be able to get access to those. Linda tells me that her takeaway is to look for the ahas to create her system. Yeah, that is so true. I mean, we all have these aha moments where we're sharing our brilliance with clients or prospects or even friends and family. And so really start taking notice of those, because you can develop entire products and programs around those ahas. And so, yeah, so Linda, I appreciate that. Let me continue to scroll through here and see if I've missed anyone's takeaways. So Jocelyn says, hi, Rob, glad to be here. The piece about ahas and creating a system was the biggest aha for me. Thanks for the course. Yeah, I tell you, it really what they are buying from you is a setup of a system. So please keep that at the forefront of all this stuff, is you need to come up with a system that you can set up for clients so that they've got everything in place to then move forward and get ongoing results. Okay, still reading some okay, you guys have a lot of ahas. Thank you for these. James says, I love the idea of adding a few personal vacation days to a remote VIP weekend trip. And if properly done, a lot is tax deductible. Yeah, I tell you, that Jamaica is probably the most extreme example, but I took my wife and son to Connecticut, and then we went into New York City the next day after the weekend and just explored the Big Apple. So yeah, I think building in extra travel days can be a really cool thing. All right, I think I've gotten through all the typed takeaways. Let me go back and see if anybody's raising their hand. Okay, so Dean has another takeaway. So Dean, you are unmuted. What's your other takeaway?
I do. I love the idea of taking care of in advance some of the expenses. So whether you're taking care of, you bill accordingly and take care of your own expenses, or bill accordingly and assume some of their expenses for travel and other accommodations. So
Yeah.
it seems more all-inclusive and seems like a better value structure as well.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dean. I appreciate you highlighting that. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. And again, I appreciate you guys all giving me your takeaways there. Yeah, I mean, I think when you sell this thing and you say that the expenses are included and you even highlight the travel expenses and the hotel expenses, that really makes it irresistible to clients. And but you don't want you don't want to have zero money in your bank account before you start accruing those expenses or booking your tickets. So I think it's important to start their payment plan right away, or collect the full amount right away. But again, all things equal, I actually prefer the payment plans because I like that monthly cash flow that comes in over, you know, in many cases it's $5,000 broken up into 10 $500 payments. So, you know, I can look out for the next 10 months and know that I have $500 coming in to help pay a bill or whatever. All right, so I think we might be through the takeaways. You guys have one more chance to press *2 and raise your hand. I'm also going to check the refresh the question box and see if there are any other takeaways. And then if not, we'll move on to the questions and answers. So let me see. Okay, so someone anonymous says, nice to learn what has worked and what hasn't. Yeah, you know, and I'd recommend this to you guys too, is that as you do things, consider creating programs around how you've done them. So, you know, I've got, I'd say at least 20 VIP weekends under my belt. It's probably more. I know I counted it one time and it was 20, so it's been more since then. So, you know, I've done a lot of these VIP weekends, and now I feel like I have enough experience to teach it. Same thing with my laser coaching model, because I had over 51 one-on-one clients. I knew that model inside and out. I knew what worked and what hadn't. So as you find yourself doing things, consider teaching a program around it, just like we're doing here with the, like I'm doing here with the VIP weekends. Consider teaching your own programs, because once you have these programs, these are assets that you can sell over and over again to your list or give them away. So that might be something to consider for just for the future. I hope you'll also consider VIP weekends, because the money is a little easier to get. Well, maybe that's not true, but for me, the VIP weekends have been the easiest sale I've ever made to my list, hands down. And so I hope that you guys find a lot of success. And in Module 2, we're going to cover how to sell them. So in other words, we're going to go through the magic copy that I use to actually get people to say yes to these VIP weekends. All right, I think I've covered all the takeaways. And let me see if there are any other hands up. Okay, no other hands up. So we'll now move on to questions and answers. So if you've got a question, you can press *2 to raise your hand. And I'm also going to look and see at some of the questions that have been typed into the Q&A box. But if you have a question, yeah, please do go ahead and either type it into the Q&A box or raise your hand. I'm going to make sure we're still showing our slides. I think we are. Are we still showing them? Yes, we are. Okay, great. Yep. Okay, so let me just jump over to the Q&A box. Okay, and so Dominique has a question. She says, I'm not sure if you answered this already, but who would be the perfect candidate for these types of VIP weekends? versus a VIP day. Yeah, you know, I don't know who your ideal candidate is. I guess someone who needs a little more help. In my scenario, my perfect candidate is someone who has spent a ton of money on other products and programs and not gotten themselves to go through and do them or get results. A lot of them have embarrassment and shame around this. I think the highest number I ever heard was somebody said, Rob, I have $135,000 in receipts from products and programs I purchased, and I have nothing to show for it. So, so I was hired for this VIP weekend to come in and actually give them something to show for it, give them tangible results. And so, so one of the buttons that I like to push is maybe you bought a lot of products and programs and haven't seen any results for them. Let me come visit you for 3 days, or we do it virtually, and we will get it done. In fact, I call my weekends, my VIP weekends, Get It Done VIP weekends. So, but as far as the perfect candidate for a weekend versus a day, I guess it's really all about how fast you can implement the solution. I did have one person hire me for a VIP day, just the day, and it was to go through her launch strategy. So that wasn't setting up a whole marketing funnel and going through what I normally would with a VIP weekend. It was just really answering one big question, which is how can I make sure my launch is successful? So, I would say the VIP weekend people are the people who need more of your time, more of your hand-holding, more of your expertise, and more of you doing stuff for them to set up that system. All right, I'll continue to scroll through some of the questions, and I'll look for hands in just a second. That's a different tab on my screen. Okay, so let's see here. I know there was at least one other question typed in. Thanks for your patience. Okay, most of these are the takeaways, and I'm just trying to find that question from before. Okay, so Gina has a question, and I haven't read it yet, but we'll discover it all together. Gina says, I'm considering offering virtual VIP weekends in April, but I'm wondering how to handle work that doesn't get covered in the 2 or 3 days in case I don't sleep well on one of the VIP days and am not at optimal efficiency during the VIP days. Do I offer an hourly plan or carryover time if I don't work the full 6 hours during the VIP days? Do you actually track your hours during the VIP days? Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. I have had VIP weekends where I either got sick or I didn't sleep well the night before and I was just tired. And, I found that I could pretty much just level with the client and say, look, I'm having a rough time here. I mean, you still want to appear professional, but I'm having a rough time here, and so I didn't get all your stuff done like I thought. That's why, because we budget 6 hours per day, or because that's how I do it anyway, I mean, that means there's 18 other hours where you can make it up to them. So my advice would be to try to make it up to them during that same 3-day period, but if not, then yeah, then just arrange to make it up to them later. But we don't really ever discuss the hours. It's not like we ended 1 hour earlier, so I owe you 1 hour. It's not that. It's more conceptual that we're spending a weekend together. So I would not get nitpicky on the number of hours that you've actually spent with them. I'd say it's more like we're spending 3 days together, and then if you don't sleep well or need some rest. I mean, I've had both. It's gone both directions. I've had clients reach out to me and say they didn't sleep well, and could we meet a little later in the day? Or I've reached out and said I didn't sleep well, could we meet a little later in the day? Or, hey, I didn't get all your stuff done that I wanted to, can we meet a little later in the day? And so what I'm suggesting is that, clients are pretty flexible, especially about postponing a meeting for later in the day. And again, sometimes I'll say, hey, instead of meeting, can we meet 2 hours later so that I can get some more stuff done on your solution, on your system, on your business? Can we meet a couple hours later? And that way I can get a lot of stuff done. And they're happy to do that because that's what they want. They want a system and they want results. Okay, I'm going to switch back over to to see if anybody's got their hands up. Oh, I see 3 hands up. That's awesome. So I'll take them in order. So Andrea, you're first. What is your question?
Well, actually, I have 3, I think, quick questions.
Okay.
What's occurring to me when I think of a system is that some of my clients might need something customized. Do you recommend against that I just have one, or would you go for the flexibility of customizing?
Yeah, so I mean, well, everybody's system is customized in my world, in that we do their free report a little bit differently, or someone's got a webinar, someone doesn't, or someone's selling product A instead of product B. So, I mean, they're different to a degree, but the overall system is what I know works for clients, which is basically teach them to build and nurture their list and then sell to their list and then get people into their funnel. So, you know, you're welcome to create new systems for each client you meet with, and that's what I initially started doing. But I found over time that everybody really pretty much ended up wanting the same big picture solution, and it was just a matter of customizing it once we were there, or even in prep calls beforehand. Did I answer your question, Andrea?
Yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate that.
Okay. Great.
So my next one is, I've had heard other teachers talk about that it was a bad idea to do a payment plan that continued after they experienced the event, that they lose motivation to pay. Is that your experience?
Well, no, it's not, because it's such a bonding experience. This is you and the client one-on-one, and if it's in person, then it's even more bonding. But even virtually, yeah, I mean, I have found that that again, I have my two stories where people didn't follow through with their payments. One was medically related, and the other one, yeah, I mean, she just fell off the face of the earth, and I think she's too embarrassed to let me know she can't afford the payment. Although, again, if she's listening to this call, I hope she'll reach out, because I can coach her to a point where she can afford the payment and more. But my point is that I feel totally safe with payment plans. And I think you'll make a lot more sales if you offer the payment plan than if you don't. But I also want to say in the same sentence or breath is that I do have other products and programs that I sell where there is no payment plan, because you're absolutely right. I do not want to chase after people who don't make their payments. And in a lot of cases, especially if you don't have high contact with that person, if their credit card fails or they don't have the money in their account, they're not super motivated to make sure that they're current on their payments with you. And so I don't like payment plans in most cases, but with VIP weekends I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And then thank you. And then the last question is more like a sort of like a disbelief, I suppose. I mean, I believe you, but it's shocking. So I love that you started your VIP weekend with $5,000 cost. But then if you're paying your travel and your hotel, that might come to say $1,000, and then you're there for 3 days. It really averages out to just over $1,300 a day, and that's kind of shocking in a way.
Shocking, like that it's a high number or a low number?
No, it's low, I think.
Oh, low. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I really in my head and I've raised the price since then. It's now $7,000. But in my head, I thought, well, if I'm making $1,000 a day and 365 days a year, that's 365,000. And of course, I'm not doing VIP weekends all the time. But if I've got a daily rate of $1,000, I can be okay with that. Now, if you're at a different point in your business where you cannot justify making $1,000 a day or more, then charge higher prices. But I'm just telling you that the price point that worked for me and for my audience was $5,000 for this weekend. I've had clients who charge more than that for even just a half-day VIP day. So you can absolutely charge more if your audience will pay for it. I did not believe mine would. Otherwise, that's where I would have started. So does that help, or does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I do really like from the client's perspective that you cover your own expenses, so they don't get these things tagged on and tagged on.
Yeah, I think they love that too. And as far as the expenses, I sleep in cheap hotel rooms. I just need a bed, so that's not ever a crazy expense, unless, of course, the client recommends this hotel and it seems important to them. Then I'll go ahead and live it up, but I'll enjoy that. And then, as far as travel, I'll fly at weird times or whatever. So, I try to keep expenses reasonable. I'm not just out there renting limousines and stuff. But yeah, so there are expenses, and the clients love that it's covered. And oftentimes clients will take me out to lunch, or we'll switch and I'll take them out to lunch. So we share some of the food expenses sometimes. Other times clients have provided me food inside their home. You know, they've had snacks ready or meals ready and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I do think they really like the that part of the package is that expenses are included. And what you're going to see on our next call is that one of the subject lines that I used was something like your all expense paid VIP weekend or something like that. So it's true the expenses are paid, but the fee is not. So,
So
anyway, yeah, we're going to.
Do you usually share meals? Do you usually share meals together and share the expenses? Or that's kind of impromptu?
Meals? I mean, no, I just, sometimes they'll offer to pick up the tab and sometimes I'll offer to pick up the tab. I just use business judgment with who's going to pay. And, you know, some clients insist on paying. Sometimes, especially if I feel like, you know, in a case where I haven't spent what I thought I was going to spend on expenses, maybe it was cheaper or whatever, you know, maybe I'll insist on paying. So it's really just kind of a judgment call at the meals.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Andrea. Okay, so we've got more questions, more hands up. Dean has got a question. So Dean, I'm unmuting you. What is your question?
Thank you. My question is surrounding your one-on-one versus potential group. If I understand you, actually, do I understand you correctly? You focus on the one-on-one VIP day or group VIP days?
All right, great question. Thank you, Dean. Yeah, so this is one-on-one, and this is not trying to help a group of 10 people implement a solution. Now, that's what I tried to do when I first came up with this idea, was to try to get everybody to come to Denver, and my goal was to have 18 people pay me $5,000, so it'd be a $90,000 event, and I would teach everybody to set up their marketing funnels. Well, I'll tell you that since then, I actually had a smaller version of that where it was just 3 people, and it was virtual. And I have never worked so hard in my life to help 3 people at a time get their stuff done and their systems set up. So I am just so glad that the thing in Denver didn't work out with 18. So what I'm talking about here is one-on-one. And sometimes one-on-one means one-on-one plus their virtual or their
Sure.
assistant or their spouse or something like that. But it's really one client that I'm talking about serving at a time.
Yeah,
if you feel like you have a system that you can implement maybe in a classroom style and want to do this with a group, you can. But I found that when I'm rolling up my sleeves and actually doing things for the client, I don't have time to serve multiple clients in the same VIP weekend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay,
does. Thank
cool.
you very much. Appreciate your distinction.
You're welcome, Dean. Thank you, Dean. Okay, so let's see. I'll answer the next call. This call looks like it's coming from Canada. Would you please say your name?
I guess it's me, Chantal.
Hi, Chantal.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Thanks for being on the call.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us to be on this call. Great material. I have a quick question for you. For your payment plan, you don't seem to be charging a little bit more because it's a payment plan instead of full pay. Is there a reason why?
Yeah, there sure is. Thank you, Chantal, for that question. Yeah, so it's true. I am not penalizing people for doing the payment plan.
Okay.
You know, I'm not charging them extra each month or having a finance charge in there, simply for the reason that I actually prefer the payment plan. I've been paid twice up front by people for virtual weekends, and you know, when the money comes in, it's absolutely nice, and I know that cash is king. But I just love having multiple VIP weekends out there paying me monthly money coming in month after month after month. I remember in one case, I think I had at least $2,000 in payments coming in for the next, I don't know if it was 6 months or 7 months, something like that, and just thinking, hey, that's my house payment. So I've already delivered the weekend, and now my house payment is taken care of for the next 6 or 7 months. So if I really screw up in my marketing and don't earn anything, this money's still coming in. So I also think that clients love it and really feel taken care of to see that I'm not charging a higher price for it. Now, in a product situation, I would, because again, those product people, not to lump everybody into this, but I just find that payment plans with products, I end up really chasing people and wasting energy on them. So to charge them a premium for being able to make payments can make sense. But again, my advice is not to give products payment plans unless you absolutely have to. And then when you do, I think it's okay to charge more. But in the case of the VIP weekend, because your bond is so strong with that client, they are very unlikely to flake, and therefore I don't mind not charging that extra money.
Okay, that really makes sense.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chantel. All right. Let's see. So looks like Kat has a question. Kat, you are unmuted. What's your question?
Hey, Rob. So little bit complicated. So, you know, and you and I know a lot of the same people and have been around for a long time, and there's so many great courses and systems and things like that out there that people teach in courses. There's limited access, you know, there's little Q&As like this or Facebook groups for questions, but I find a lot of people have taken a ton of courses and they have great systems to work with, but they get stuck on the exercises. They don't really know how to ask questions. They don't really know how to apply what they're doing in one exercise to, like, developing their avatar and how to integrate that into their copy or how to structure the programs or whatever. And so this idea of one of the things I'm really good at is helping people walk through the exercises they have, rather than me trying to come up with, you know, there's so many great systems out there, rather than me trying to come up with my own system for how to do these different things. If they've paid for a program, they have access to the exercises, they're stuck and they don't know how to use them. I mean, I can't really sell myself as a coach for any of these programs, but I know so many of them inside and out. Do you see what I'm saying?
I totally understand.
Them, you know, whose programs have you taken? Have you done the exercises on this, that, and the other thing? Let's walk through those, not just say, oh, yeah, I did my avatar. It's in a file drawer somewhere. Now let's work on my copy.
Right. So I think you can totally set up your VIP weekends around helping people go through their other programs. I think that's totally fine. I don't know what the implications are from the person who sells the program, but I assume they would be in favor of it because you're helping one of their customers actually consume their stuff. I mean, I look at it from this standpoint of somebody who signs up for a shopping cart and I'm setting that up for them. It's the same thing. It's not an info product, but I am helping them use something that they have bought so that they can now make money with it or now get results with it. So, Kat, I think that strategy is great. And also, it really reinforces the concept of people who buy programs and don't get results from them. You could do a marketing campaign around, if you bought any of the following programs and not gotten results, I can help you get everything set up so that you do get results. So,
I do get pushback when I'm, you know, from the people who have those, you know, who sell those programs, even though they may or may not offer coaching, you know, to help people get stuck. But it's a sticky area I've found of how do I explain to people that, you know, if you've done other programs, I can help you actually implement the program and get it done.
Well, yeah, you certainly can't brand yourself as being part of that organization, and I don't think you are. But I would just say that, hey, I've got experience with this program, that program, this, you know, all these things. I understand them inside and out. So, you know, if you purchase programs like these or others and you're trying to get this result, let's spend 3 days together. So I think you can still bring it into your marketing, but if you have somehow offended the people who own those programs or they don't like what you're up to, then I probably try to get that handled first just so that the air is clear.
Okay.
Yeah? All right.
Thanks,
okay.
Rob.
All right. Thanks, Kat. All right. So we have way more questions than I thought we would, which is awesome. And we have a question from my good friend and VIP weekend client, Nancy. Nancy, are you there? Hello, Nancy? Let's see. That's either Nancy or her husband, Robert, but I'm not hearing you on the line. Can you do anything? Looks to me like you're talking, but I don't hear you. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and mute Nancy. And can somebody type into the webcast if you can still hear me? You can just type the word yes if you can still hear me, because I want to make sure that it's not on my end and that you're still hearing me. So I am refreshing the screen now to see if anybody would. Okay, cool. Thank you for typing yes, those of you who did. Okay, so I'll go ahead and answer a submitted question. Do you think that a VIP weekend plan could apply to life coaching? So yeah, I mean, life coaching, absolutely a life coach could do this, but I think it should be around a certain solution. So So I mean, somebody hires a life coach maybe because they want to accomplish some goals, or they want to lose weight, or have a relationship, or whatever it is they want out of the life coaching. Then yes, you could structure a VIP weekend around that kind of result. But I think you need to be careful about just a general life coaching solution. So I would try to identify the solution that most of your life coaching clients want, and then offer a VIP weekend around that solution. So thank you for your question. Okay, let me see. We do have more questions. Dominique says, can you share the various costs you had, share the various costs you had with having your VIP weekends? For example, did you always secure a room at the hotel where you were staying? So again, I budget $1,000 for travel and hotel. I usually go to hotels.com, and I'll just find a cheap hotel because, again, I don't need much more than a bed and an internet connection. So yeah, I would make reservations through hotels.com, and the nice thing about, in my case, hotels.com is that they allow you to cancel. So for instance, I had one client in Canada, and we had made some plans to get together, and then we needed to reschedule things and actually restructure her weekend. And so, but it was no problem because I just contacted hotels.com or logged in and canceled my hotel reservation, and I had not yet made a flight reservation. So, but yeah, I would say, that's another reason to make sure that clients do go ahead and pay you something up front, so that if everything were to fall apart, at least the expenses are handled. And I probably had maybe 3 out of the 20 need to change the plan once everything was in place. And in every case, the client offered to reimburse me for any expenses I had already incurred in planning out the weekend. So I don't really think it's a big deal, but I usually do my hotel right away, and then I usually do the plane ticket closer to the time of the trip. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Okay, so Nancy, even though I couldn't get her on the line, she submitted a question here. So let's see. Live events often offer a big program. Do you think at the end of the VIP to offer a big program like the live events offer? Okay, so some events offer like a mastermind or something like that at the end of their program. And I think Nancy's question is, at the end of the VIP weekend, should you offer a mastermind just like that might be offered at a live event? I would say absolutely, if you don't need a whole bunch of people to join at once. Because remember, these VIP weekends are scattered throughout your calendar. And so if you're trying to fill a mastermind all at once, then it's probably hard to do it throughout the year, talking to people so that they all join your program at the same time. But I tell you, the people that you have these VIP weekends with, the trust level is incredibly high. So yeah, so you absolutely can sell them into more stuff as long as it serves them and as long as it feels good to you and to them. So if it's a big program, then sure. But again, unlike a live event where everybody signs up at the same time with these VIP weekends, it's going to be scattered. All right, so we are at the end of the time for our call. I didn't realize we would go all the way, so that's cool. And if there are any more questions in the Q&A box, I will answer them on the next call. But I do want to make sure that we end on time. So I really appreciate you guys being on the call today. I'm going to unmute the line in case anybody would like to yell out goodbye. But thanks for being on the call, everybody.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
The conference is now completed. Goodbye.